Oh, yeah. Just waiting on an audience here on the live. For those who don't know, my name is Matthew P. Holbert, which actually translated means mother, Matthew, Patrick, paternal, father. Holbert can only be interpreted as whole birth, Holbert. Um, so mother, father, whole earth. And I am, or holy birth, holy birth, whole birth. Um, I I didn't make my name. So anyway, my work has been to create, develop an education that can illuminate the mind beyond the classical liberal arts, to illuminate the mind beyond what the liberal arts education was capable of doing. I have expanded the classical liberal arts to include not just the trivium and quadrivium, but a pentavium and hexivium, as well as univium and bivium. These would be the pre-trivium educational curriculums that, once applied, grooms toddlers, infants and toddlers into becoming students of the trivium. The trivium being, of course, grammar, logic, and rhetoric. And then that grooms them ultimately for the quadrivium. And once they go through the classical liberal arts, the only thing that's necessary to educate young adults with is skills, life skills, or just generally the arts of carpentry, hydroponics, agriculture, welding, these skill sets that liberate humanity from being dependent on a sort of expert. Same thing with law. Law should be something that is just generally taught. Philosophy is something that should generally be taught, but isn't, because, of course, they don't want people of learning to be the common modality in our society. They don't want us to be educated. They want us to be as dumbed down as possible. That being the case, we have to resist that. We have to go against that. And the only way that I see us doing that is through this idiom education. The idiom education is beyond the classical liberal arts. It is the full life spectrum, the comprehensive education that transcends or goes beyond the classical liberal arts education to include the full lifespan of the human being, including your offspring. So it's not just you educating yourself, it's you educating yourself and being thus able to educate your children. And this used to be how things happened to be. It was taken for granted that that's what you do. And that was broken or made into a extraordinary feat at the turn of the century because of industrialism, Rockefeller education, and the like. And we owe it to ourselves to break away from that despotic slave mind system, aka the Matrix, in order to create for ourselves a better world, and a better world not only for ourselves but for our children, because they deserve better than this. They deserve better than the World Economic Forum's vision for a world that is rooted in, I guess the best term for it is rooted in debt slavery. But I mean, it's abject poverty. It's what Aldous Huxley described it as, conditions which they've been made to feel happy in, which one oughtn't feel happy. We will be owning nothing and happy. For some reason, we'll be happy owning nothing. They will own everything and we will own nothing, and we will be forced to be happy with it because that's just the way the world is, and you just got to deal with it. That's the rhetoric of our, I think, the boomer generation primarily, is this is just the way the world is and you just got to be happy with it, which is like not at all. Like, how does a person get that mentality of this is just the way the world is and you just got to deal with it? Where do you go? What goes wrong in your life that's the mentality that you've picked up and feel like is good? At no point in the history of the world has that been an acceptable worldview, that we should be content with how things are being conducted, whether it be economically, educationally, or ethically. At no point is it acceptable to be content with the way that things are. That's how evolution works. Evolution does not operate by content. We don't get to Star Trek future by being content with how things are. We get to Star Trek by being discontent. It's by having a constructive discontent that we reach to the stars. But the second we feel like, oh, well, that's just the way the world is and you just got to deal with it, that's the same moment where stagnancy becomes the norm. And I disagree that stagnancy should be the primary state of humanity. A lot of people would probably disagree because they just want to get along to go along, but that's a toxic point of view, toxic perspective to have. Education is education by definition is about enlightening and perfecting the mind. We need to not only just educate the mind, but the spirit as well, the self. We need to be educating the self, the psyche, the spirit on the nature and function of its existence, which is principally about unity and sovereignty. It is through unity that we reach a sense of sovereignty. It's through unity consciousness, an understanding of the fact that consciousness is universal. Consciousness is universal. And by understanding that and acting Based on that principle, humanity has the potential to reach a level of universal sovereignty or planetary sovereignty, worldwide sovereignty. And this is the meaning of life for humanity. This is the purpose that we are missing out on, is the fact that we have this potential for unity and sovereignty that we're not accessing. We're not actualizing it because of ignorance and fear. And the only way that we get out of this perilous situation is if we actually grow up and evolve. So getting along to go along is not sufficient. It's not what we need. We need radical transformation. We need a radical paradigm shift. And that's what my manifesto is about here, the keys of the new Renaissance. Essentially about us embracing an alternative to this model of modern industrialism and capitalism and consumerism. And I would argue that if we don't, that we are fucked. And of course, I'm not just talking out of my ass. I've lived through poverty. I know what it's like to be living out of your car or whatever. I've been homeless before, and I've worked my way out of that, as well as having educated myself to the point of having a PhD honorarily, essentially, of a philosophy of education. I mean, I literally have created a philosophy of education, expanding the classical liberal arts to include a pentivium, hexivium, bivium, and univium. And that's, as far as I know, that's quite possibly one of the biggest contributions to education that's come out of the past century. And I truly believe that is the way. The ivium education is the way, and actually even ChatGPT agrees. So it is what it is. My whole goal is to liberate humanity from the golden shackles of the modern slave state and bring about a new age of enlightenment. That's what humanity needs. We need a new age of enlightenment. And the only way to go about doing that is through a new education paradigm that actually encompasses and conveys the human spirit. Because it's not enough to perfect the body or the mind. The spirit also has to be perfected. And how do you perfect the spirit if not through self-discipline and self-mastery? How do you perfect the spirit if not through self-discipline and self-mastery? So that's what the first key of the new Renaissance happens to be, is education. The first key of the new Renaissance is the ivium. The ivium education. I would argue that that is my greatest contribution to the philosophy of education, And that is perhaps one of the greatest contributions to the process or the paradigm of education since the trivium and quadrivium. The ivium being the expansion of the classical liberal arts has the potential to liberate humanity and illuminate the mind beyond the previous Renaissance. And unfortunately, because it's so it's didactic. It's something that, of course, people the attention span of the majority of the people in our population, due to the dumbing down deliberately of the education system, majority of the people who are going to be hearing me speak, if at all, are not going to be able to entertain these ideas for more than 3 seconds. It's just a fact. So I'm not holding out hope.
Questions when you get pulled over. 1. A sudden strike to the act.
I'm getting bored here. There's no fucking audience. I mean, what do you want me to do? It's fucking. If I were to have an audience, there would be, that'd be one thing. But it's fucking discouraging. Granted, I mean, obviously the subject matter is heady. I admit that. It's not exactly as though I'm talking about kittens and puppies here. Of course, it's when I am intentionally. Oh, fuck! The goddamn garlic. I didn't even see it there. Somebody took the fucking garlic. God fucking damn it.